The future of Battlefield is ever so closely coming soon. And, well, IGN have already done an interview with, I think this is the lead developer or something, or one of the lead people on the next Battlefield game. Now, I have no clue what they're going to decide to call it. Battlefield have kind of gone. They're like how companies name phones or consoles. They've gone a route very weird. We've gone from Battlefield 4, then Battlefield 1, then Battlefield 5, then Battlefield 2042. The naming, now don't get me wrong, it's not the end of the world, but the naming and the numbers and stuff like that, I'm guessing this is going to be probably not Battlefield 6. I don't know if they'd call it that. Anyway, Vince Zampella confirms the next Battlefield will use modern setting, first concept art revealed. Now, when I first looked at the concept art, it actually reminded me a little bit of Firestorm from Battlefield 5. If you actually remember that, I don't think a lot of people do because, well, it was kind of a neglected mode. It was a battle royale, which I'm not entirely fond of, but they seem to have did the exact same thing as Call of Duty in the exact same year, putting a battle royale in a paid game, and it wasn't even free to play. And the only people that could play it are people who actually paid for the game. So it kind of died down pretty quickly because, well, the people who paid for the game decided to actually play the other side of the game. And Firestorm, yeah, you'll see a few amount of players in it, but it's not where it was. So I wonder the future of Battle Royale in Battlefield. We haven't seen it, obviously, with Battlefield 2042, although I think it did have an extraction shooter type thing. I don't know actually what happened to that. But yeah, it did remind me a little bit of Firestorm, looking at that concept art. Ahead of its Investor Day on September the 17th, EA revealed fresh details on its untitled Battlefield game alongside its first officially concept art, which IGN can exclusively reveal for the first time. IGN also confirms that the next Battlefield will be returning to modern settings after World War One and World War Two and the near future. While EA is cagey about specifics when it comes to the concept art, including declining the name of the future city, even though it looks like somewhere in Europe, it does include details that should stand out to longtime fans of the series. Among other things, it appears to suggest part of that ship-to-ship combat and helicopter combat will be a part of it, and feature natural disasters like wildfires. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think Battlefield 2042 did kind of introduce stuff like that. They had tornadoes and stuff like that. Kind of natural disasters, I guess, if you want to call it that. Its greyish colour scheme is advocate of Battlefield 4, which remains one of the most popular games in the series despite being released a decade ago. Battlefield goes back to basics. All of it points back to basics approach for the next Battlefield. Indeed, ahead of Respawn and Group GM, EA Studios organization, Vince Campbell is quick to shout out Battlefield 3 and 4 in the course of sitting down with IGN to talk about the new reveals on the decision to return to the modern era. Zampella says, I mean, if you look back at the peak of or the pinnacle of Battlefield, is that it's Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 eras where everything was modern, and I think we have to go back to the core of what Battlefield is and do that amazingly well, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I think for me, it's that peak Battlefieldness in Battlefield 3 and 4 days, so I think it's nostalgic for players. Yes, I do think that too. I do. The Battlefield 3 and the 4 days were kind of, I don't want to say peak for Battlefield, because I think personally the peak for Battlefield was definitely Battlefield 1. We all knew, that is, I think currently, I don't know how many it's sold, but I think from what I heard, it was 25 million, the best-selling Battlefield game ever. And I think a lot of people would agree it is probably the most cinematic and the most incredible. Now, it's hard to choose. I would have to put Battlefield, well, I do like Battlefield Bad Company. I think they did the best campaign out of every Battlefield. If you've never played Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2, I do entirely recommend you to do that, because it is incredible for the campaign anyway. But I do think Battlefield, they haven't really made campaigns that incredible. I think Battlefield 3 actually had a really good campaign. I'm sorry, I kind of left that out. Yeah, Battlefield 3 did have a really good campaign. Battlefield 4, the campaign wasn't too bad. It gets a fair bit of hate. Battlefield 1 did have a campaign, but it was more just playing through the stories. It was like an experience more than anything else. And I'm not saying it was bad. It was actually really well done. It was more showing you how war is and how brutal war is, especially for World War One. And Battlefield 5 did have a campaign, which was pretty decent. But Battlefield hasn't really been the main focus of a campaign, especially like Call of Duty and stuff like that. You don't have like returning characters and well-known characters in the Battlefield series. So like Captain Price or something with Call of Duty, Battlefield kind of more focuses on the destruction and the multiplayer side of things, which I actually do like. That's kind of what Battlefield's good at, large-scale warfare, and that's what I love about Battlefield. They can make destruction incredible. They can make large-scale warfare incredible. Call of Duty is like that team deathmatch, that sort of arcadey style, where Battlefield, yes, it's still got that arcadey feel to it, but it's also got that sort of realistic aspect. Not too realistic, but it's in between arcade and realistic. And I do think that makes it incredible. Battlefield 2042 did launch horribly. And they've kind of fixed a lot of it. Looking back at it now, they've done a decent job. Better than I probably thought they would, yes. I got to respect the developers for that. Cleaning up what absolute shit was left with that game. Again, I'm pretty sure they did that mostly because they wanted to try and recoup a little bit of money. I'm sure the refunds for that game were pretty high. It's a shame that Battlefield 2042 was kind of a waste. I was really looking forward to it. Now, again, I'm not saying it's the worst. Well, okay, it's the worst Battlefield probably ever. But if we're looking at it now, it's a lot better again. But the content's been buttered very thin with Battlefield 2042, and it seems like people just enjoy it now and again. They had a few maps. I don't know how many maps, but the content has been spread quite thin, and that's been a concern for people for a while, especially when you look at previous Battlefields like Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4, the amount of content that was released. Now, bearing in mind, a lot of that was actually premium content, which the Battlefield Premium as well. I hear some people say they want Battlefield Premium back. Now, if you don't know what Battlefield Premium was, even though it's kind of obvious, it was like the ultimate addition to the game. You'd get every future DLC that would come with the game. You'd get like priority, and if you did pre-order it, you'd sometimes get like a special thing. Like, I think Battlefield 1, I have the weapon, the Enlister weapon, for pre-ordering. So you get like some special thing in the game for pre-ordering, like a gun or something, or a special variant of a gun for pre-ordering the game. But also you'd get premium as well, which would give you premium access to servers, so you'd be able to skip the server queue, although it doesn't really work anymore because everyone has Battlefield Premium because it's been on sale for quite a while now. So that feature kind of went out of the window a long time ago. However, things like that. No, I don't think they're going to release Battlefield Premium. Unfortunately, the way and how money is made in games now has changed dramatically. Call of Duty used to have a season pass. They don't have that anymore. Everything's more free to play within the game now. Obviously, you just pay for the game and that's it. All the maps in the game are free to play. Years ago, everything has changed, and Battlefield is going to follow that suit as well. And I'm sure all maps and future maps will be free. And you'll probably have you'll probably have a battle pass, and maybe a battle royale. And I'm going to get onto that later on about the battle royale and the future, I think, with battle royales in Battlefield, because yeah, I feel like it's one of them ones. The return of the modern setting represents a course of correction after Battlefield 2042, which eventually found its footing but was otherwise widely planned for feature-like specialists, characters that made it seem as if Battlefield was trying to be a hero shooter. Its ambitious 128-player mode maps also proved unpopular with fans who preferred more focused experience. Battlefield 2042 eventually went back to supporting 64-player maps, and the next Battlefield plans to stick to that approach. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually did kind of like 128 players. It's cool. It's a really cool experience, but I do think the maps were just a little bit too far. The flags in some cases, you'd have to use a vehicle just to get to one flag or the other. Now, I'm not saying the flags need to be right on top of each other. Obviously, you want it a little bit walking distance, but you don't want it towards the point of where it'd be better off just killing yourself and then respawning at that flag, And that's kind of what I did most of the time playing that. And most of the time I just ended up trying a different server and getting a different map because I'd get that bored. I'd be like, oh, I can't be bothered running across the map like this. It'd be a pain in the ass a lot of the time. So I'd be like, you know what? let me try and find a map that's actually more better and the flags aren't 10 years away from each other. And vehicles as well, yeah. I feel like vehicles became more of a focus when it should be a half and a half. It should be vehicles and boots on the ground gameplay. You don't want vehicles to become that easy that it kind of hinders the boots on the ground experience. Obviously, you want a mixture of both. But when maps, are that big, vehicles become the main focus. And unfortunately, it's a very unfortunate thing when vehicles are coming into your spawn and just run you over. I know that was a pretty big problem. I was run over multiple times by enemy vehicles because they just go to your spawn with a vehicle and they just run you down, which was pretty annoying. The 120 player did make it more fun. Like, doing the number for the sake of the number doesn't make any sense. We're testing everything around what's the most fun. So like you said, the maps, once they get to a certain scale, become different. It's a different play space, and I think you have to design around that. So we are designing something that is more akin to previous Battlefields, Zampella says. I'd rather have nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play spaces, and some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to see some of them. Specialists are also out this time round, so I wasn't there. Are also out this time around. I wasn't there for 2042. I don't know what the ration was like, but for me, it's like the team tried something new. You have to applaud that effort. Not everyone liked it, but you got to try things. Yeah, that's true. I do agree with that. Trying new things, makes Battlefield feel fresh and stuff like that. Personally, I didn't like the specialists. It was hell of confusing. I just kind of like Battlefield with its normal classes, the normal way it went. I mean, that's kind of been the staple for Battlefield games for a long time now. I think that was from like early Battlefield days, the classes. I don't know when I think the first Battlefield had them. So again, it's something I actually like with Battlefield, them to keep the class sort of aspect, like the assault, the support, the medic, and the scout. Obviously having different roles, so you can actually help your team out. That's kind of what I like about Battlefield. Say, you can be the assault, you can push up more. That's more of a sort of advancing role. And then you have the medic. Obviously, you can help your team revive and you can, give them health and stuff like that. And then you have that support class where you can push up with a machine gun and, get in really and get a position on them and maybe, suppress them with fire and stuff like that. And also, you can drop ammo for your team as well. They're running low on ammo. Okay, guys, get reloaded. Let's push after this once we have all regathered and recuperated our ammo. So that's kind of what I like also about that, feature as well. It kind of makes, even if you're not maybe good at the game, at least you're actually doing something for your squad or even for other squads and players as well. So you kind of actually feel like you're doing something even though you may not be the best player in the server or the game. So at least you kind of have that aspect to you. You're like, oh, you know what? This game has a bit of fun to it. I've seen some, players in Battlefield. They're not really good, but at least they're going around there, again, reviving people, giving them ammo and making sure we can actually push up to that objective and clear stuff out. Now, I don't know what the game modes are going to be like in this future Battlefield. I would love to see the operations game mode come back. I can't remember if Operations was in Battlefield 5, but Operations, I think, became a thing in Battlefield 1, mainly anyway. And it's a game mode that I really loved. Now, Conquest is large capture the flag. It's essentially I don't know, like 4 or 5 flags scattered across certain aspects of a map. And obviously, it'd be sort of medium large maps, unless it was like Fort de Vaux, which is kind of a large map, but it's more of a close quarters large map, if you get what I mean. Now, Operations would actually slice the map into certain aspects. So you'd have the first aspect. So what you'd do is you'd have 2 flags to capture. You'd have to capture them, both of them flags, and then what would happen? You'd have to clear the enemy out of the sector. Once you've done that, then you'd move on to the next slice of the map, and then you do the same thing, and then that, and it would create some maps. It would create a Fort de Vaux or Fort de Vaux. I don't know how you say it. It's French. That map, a lot of people do like. Operation Lock is another close quarter map. I would actually like to see another one of them maybe 2 of them maps. I absolutely adore maps like that. A lot of people don't really like them because of this and that, and it's more for like spawn trappers. I like close quarter maps. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the adrenaline you get from running around and realizing around that corner someone could sneak through and shoot you to pieces. So maybe that's why I like maps like Fort de Vaux and Operation Locker and stuff. Or maybe I just like ranking up really much. I don't know. But I like maps like that. Again, it more focuses on you trying to, work as a team and, keep that enemy from actually pushing and advancing to your location, which is, again, a very good thing about it. Now, this looks pretty promising, and I really, really hope the future of Battlefield is nailed down to a T, and I really hope they take things seriously there, because I want Battlefield to succeed. I think everyone does. I don't think people want it to fail. It's not something I want to see fail. And I'm not saying that because it's EA and stuff like that. I mean, let's be honest, EA are very controversial. They've done stuff that people haven't really liked. I think they were ranked the worst company, I don't think they are anymore, for like 2 years on a row. So it's not surprising that a lot of people have a little less faith in it. And obviously with pre-orders and stuff like that, and the way, these companies try and like antagonize you to, pre-order this and you get this, and and a lot of people unfortunately fall for that bait, and then the game comes out and it's this and this. Now obviously betas used to be kind of beta testing. It was like we do this problem and this problem, we got this problem, okay, we'll fix this problem. Now betas are more used as a marketing tactic to get as many pre-orders, because obviously pre-orders, the more pre-orders you have, the better aspect of like, we got this amount of players on, we got this. Obviously, you can lock them type of players in. So again, betas are something that I don't really like these days, because they don't serve much of a purpose anymore. They've kind of lost the purpose. So I hope, future, games actually start taking betas a little bit more seriously. Battlefield had taken that beta more seriously, I think it would have been in a better place. They definitely should have delayed that launch, maybe a few months, later. Obviously, they try to get it pushed in before Christmas, and I think that's what Call of Duty does as well. They try to get it pushed in before that holiday because obviously that's when more people are likely to spend stuff, and that's quite a smart thing. That's why a lot of things like iPhones and stuff like that, well, I presume that's why they do it close to Christmas, because obviously that's when people are more likely to spend things and buy things for people, their loved ones and stuff like that. That's what I'm assuming anyway. But again, this is what I like to see. I love to see Battlefield striving, and they're getting to a point now where they're like, let's do this, let's take this seriously, let's not slack. Battlefield 2042 was an absolute and complete failure. But let's take this serious now, Let's not mess about. And, the players clearly want a Battlefield that is actually good and not run down and more sort of like a hero shooter, which, again, people clearly don't like. Now, obviously, another thing I don't really like about the future of many games is Battle Royales. And, well, unfortunately, that's going to be one for Battlefield, the future of Battlefield as well. And I'm sure skins are going to become a very common thing to see in Battlefield as well. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to go down that route, but then again, that's kind of where the money's at these days. Free-to-play Battle Royale, in hopes maybe that they will try to get them to either buy the full game or buy a bunch of skins in the game. But hey, we'll see how it rivals Warzone. Again, I'm not too fond of Battle Royales, and I kind of just want Battlefield to focus more on actual Battlefield rather than a Battle Royale, because I feel like that's what Call of Duty is doing. They're focusing more on the Battle Royale side of things, and the multiplayer kind of just doesn't really... I don't want to say it gets neglected, because it definitely does get a fair bit of content, probably more content than what it used to get, but it's very obvious that it seems to be more dumbed down. Warzone probably is taking up a fair bit of that time, which is unfortunate, but again, it's the future of where money is in games, and it's quite obvious that that's where they want it. I mean, it's EA making this, for God's sake. It's not exactly going to be friendly when it comes to microtransactions and stuff like that, whether that's through skins or something. Again, we may get Battlefield Premium again. I know that was kind of controversial. A lot of games, a lot of Battlefields would have a lot of paid content compared to free content, which a lot of people kind of had a bit of problems with. Now, again, I don't really have a problem with that. I'd probably pay for Battlefield Premium if it has some good maps on it. I feel like that's the experience we get. But, I don't know. We'll see with the Battle Royale. I don't want to judge things before it comes. Obviously, let's just hope they don't if they are going to release a Battle Royale, let's make sure they don't make the same mistake they did with Firestorm and release it was a pretty good Battle Royale, but releasing a Battle Royale within a paid game and not even making it free to play. Although Call of Duty made the exact same mistake. So I don't know whether I'm guessing it was they were trying and testing what a Battle Royale would actually play like and actually look like within the game, within the Battlefield game. But they never really got round to actually bringing it out of that sort of paid experience. So I'm guessing that's how they were going with it, with the whole Battle Royale thing. But again, a lot of people may be happy about Battle Royales coming to Battlefield. Personally, I'm not really, I don't really hate it, but I'm more meh on it. It's like not the end of the world, but I'd kind of prefer if it didn't and it was more focused on large-scale battles and what Battlefield truly does best, and creating atmospheres that, take your breath away, and the destruction levels being absolutely incredible. So it looks like the next Battlefield will be developed by 4 studios. Now, I don't exactly know how many studios were being utilised for Battlefield 2042. DICE for the multiplayer aspect. Citerion Games for single player / multiplayer. Motive for single player. Ripple Effect for a new experience. I'm guessing that's probably going to be a battle royale type game mode. But hey, we'll see what they do. Maybe they're going to do what like Call of Duty did and had like a looter shooter type experience. But yeah, it's by them saying new experience, it's probably going to be a free to play battle royale aspect. Which again, we'll see how it plays out. I don't want to slam it too far, but I just hope to God it doesn't take away Battlefield's integrity. Although I do know if they do release a battle royale, that is probably going to be miles ahead of many battle royales, and I can imagine the destruction level will be incredible. It will be the core Battlefield game within battle royale. I don't know. I'd kind of like to see it. Obviously, with Firestorm, I guess that was more like a beta of what they're capable of. And Firestorm had some pretty good destruction. So, hey, I'd love to see what the future of a battle royale would be like in Battlefield. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to jump the gun just yet on the battle royale experience and hit onto it too much. But again, if they focus on and keep the core integrity of Battlefield there, I don't see why it wouldn't succeed. There's nothing stopping Battlefield from succeeding other than themselves. And in fact, that's when it comes to it. EA are their own worst enemy when it comes to this type of thing, unfortunately. They've got everything there. The players are waiting. They're wanting some new content. They're wanting a new game, But unfortunately, EA being the company it is, it likes to just pretty much say fuck you to the players. So, again, I'm really hoping and crossing my fingers. I have no idea when the launch window is for this game. I'm probably presuming 2025, late 2025. We probably will end up seeing gameplay in 2025. But I'm probably saying that it may end up being a 2026 launch window. Again, if it's the beta's shoddy and stuff like this, I really hope, again, they do hold it back and be like, okay, you know what, we're going to delay this game for maybe a month or so. Although, really and realistically, games need to stop actually putting out a release date unless it's actually like everything is so perfect with the game. I understand a lot of teams and stuff are rushed off their feet because of investors and stuff, and that's kind of unfortunately how the game development world is now. It's more investors just ruining the experience and stuff, and they're like focused and they're forced to push it out past a certain date, even though some things may not work very well on it. But again, I really have hopes for Battlefield. I know that might be a bad thing to do with EA, knowing their track record, but they have produced some incredible Battlefields, and DICE as well. So you know what? There's still hope. Maybe even if it's a very small bit of hope, I still have it there.